shirt here, BronxNet Television. And to me, among the many wonderful things tonight is the fact that all those organizations are working together for the same objective, and that is to give the people of the Bronx, the South Bronx in particular, a chance to speak for themselves when it comes to who gets elected to serve us in office. We should mention that the organizations I mentioned, I'm going to repeat them: Friends of Brook Park, Nos Quedamos, Diego Beekman, South Bronx Unite, and BronxNet do not support any one of the candidates who is here. They are completely nonpartisan. This is what we like to call on BronxNet Television for voter information. I will tell you, if you don't know, the primary is June 28th. The early voting period is June 18th to June 26th, so you don't have to wait online on the primary day. You can get in there early. There are 3 candidates in this race. 2 of those candidates are here, so let's meet them. The incumbent is Amanda Septimo. She was a community activist in her teens, served as a community liaison for then Congressman Jose Serrano. She began serving in the Assembly in January 21. Round of applause, please, incumbent Assembly member.
Yes, Amanda. Yes, yes.
The other candidate who is here reminded me that he was on my TV show Bronx Talk way back in 2005, you said? All right, he's been an attorney in the South Bronx for 25 years. His expertise is in commercial and real estate transactions and litigation, civil and housing court litigation, incorporating and advising small business and not-for-profit corporations, trusts and estates, and criminal law. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause, Alberto Torres. The third candidate is Hector Feliciano. He cited a schedule conflict and could not be here, so we're sorry for that. We had already given some guidelines for people in the audience who will ask questions. I'm going to ask the first question, and then we'll ask people to raise their hands. If you have a question, we'll recognize you. Sir, why don't you just come over here and you'll be on deck. He's wearing a Yankee cap. I guess we can use baseball terminology. So let's just start with you, Assemblymember Septimo. Talk to us. You'll have to share a microphone if you would. Talk to us about your experience, what experience you think is relevant to the people who are here and the people watching on television, and why presumably you think you're the most qualified to be elected again in the New York State Assembly.
Sure. First, I want to say thank you to all of the incredible groups who put this together. For so long, our community, I think, has been starving for this kind of engagement. So I'm really proud to be here as the Assembly member, because this is what we deserve. We deserve opportunities and spaces to be in community together, talking about what the future of our community should be, and having the opportunity to talk to our elected officials about it. So I'm really proud to be here, and thank you all for being here. In terms of experience, I could tell you it got read in my bio that I worked for Congressman Serrano for 4 years. I've worked for the nurses union. I worked for the principals union, but that's my resume, right? I think the things that make me qualified to continue doing the work in community is that I'm from the community. I've lived in this district my whole life, and all of the work that I've done in my professional career has touched this community. And for anyone who's been in any other space with me, I tell people all the time when they're wanting to get more involved in community, when they're wanting to think about running for office themselves, because I'm someone who ran against an incumbent, right? And when you decide to run, one of 2 things happen. People step up to support you, and then there's people who tell you that you shouldn't do it, that you should wait, that you're not an expert, that you're not ready. And none of those things are true. Because what I know is that we're all experts in our community because we live here. And so for me, my expertise is rooted in the fact that I'm of this community, and every day I'm looking to serve it and make sure that we're moving forward, because we've been lacking in leadership for so long. And so I'm excited to continue doing that work.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Yes.
Torres. The same question for you, sir.
That's what I was going to say, Ray.
I would like to likewise thank the 3 organizations and BronxNet for putting this event together. I don't consider this to be a debate. This is a dialogue. This is a dialogue where you're
That's
going
right.
to get information.
That's right.
And everyone here knows, I tell people, information is power. When you have information, then you're able to make constructive change. Who am I? What is my background? I'm from the South Bronx. I've lived there all my life, 60 years. I have grown up in the projects, the NYCHA, 169th Street, Washington Avenue. I am an individual that worked with the borough president, Fernando Ferrer, for 5 years at Bronx Core. What did I do there? This. I organized anti-drug campaign. I organized beautification projects back then. Here, I am now I will be doing the same thing. I also worked in the assembly for 2 years. So I went up to Albany. I worked on legislation, so I know what it is to go up to Albany and to negotiate. Presently, I'm on planning board number 1. I've been there for the last 6 years. I'm a member of the 40th Precinct Council. I'm a member of the PSA 7 Council. That's for the NYCHA developments. There I am listening and learning what it is that is taking place with the police and the crime and how they're trying to deal with that. In addition to that, 20 years, Little League. My kids are grown up, so I don't have to do it anymore. I have also likewise worked with different organizations. I work with a cancer research organization, raising monies for them. Therefore, I have a lot of experience on top of the fact that I'm an attorney. As an attorney, I have certain skills. When I started getting involved with NYCHA, they asked me to review certain documentation with reference to the trust that's being created, the privatization of NYCHA. I am being educated as to that process and what it is that we can do as a community to protect our tenants from being ultimately evicted. I am qualified, I'm here, I'm also doing this out of my heart. It's not a paycheck. I make more money as an attorney than I do as an assemblyman. But my heart tells me that this is what I have to do because I want to do this full time with my community. I want to thank you very much, everyone, for being here, and take this information that you get today and share it with others, which is what I do all the time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we'll have sir, just be careful there and come over here. And whoever's next, somebody else want to stand over here if you would.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. And anybody else? We have other questions? Sir, why don't you come down over here? Your name, sir?
My name is Ronald Topping. I'm president of Adam Houses of 933 units in the South Bronx, a community activist, along with the resident the Resident Advisory Board for Citywide Council Presidents and the district.
Thank you very much for being here. And what is your question for the two candidates?
Yes, my question for...
I've got the mic.
You got the mic. Listen, I don't need this. I can do this without this. Listen, I'd like to ask both of you candidates, Amanda and also Alberto Torres. A lot of times we have low votings because people just don't trust politicians. But my question would be, what are you doing or what have you done to preserve public housing and funding for Section 9 and public housing? What will you do or what are you doing?
Mr. Torres, you can have the first answer there. We'll go back and forth, so you can respond first. And yes, thank you very much, sir.
As I had stated earlier, when I got involved, I started researching what this new trust is. You have Section 8, which everybody understands what it is. You get a voucher, you get an apartment. Section 9 is for public housing. Those are mechanisms that are put in place to protect the tenants. So it's not that easy to evict them because many of them don't have access to proper legal representation. So I have represented people in Section 9 proceedings where you have to go downtown, you have to go through an administrative proceeding before an administrative law judge before they can take you to court. That layer of insulation will not be available if they create the trust as it is right now. That is my understanding. And that's what we need to do in order to protect. The idea of creating privatization is to be able to get monies in order to make the repairs, because the feds, the state, and the city government has abandoned NYCHA. They left it. And they have let it get to the point of decay, where when you have a distressed property, what happens? You sell it for $10 because you don't want it anymore. That's the rationale that the city is using. Oh, there's no monies, we can't fix it, now we have to bring in some developers, or we have to bring in some third parties to fix up what mess exists. There is money. When the government can send $600 million to Buffalo to build a stadium, and they can't spend $50 million in New York City to fix the housing, there are issues. That's why I intend to go to Albany and to be able to articulate these things. This is what we need to do, and that's what I'm doing, and I will do with reference to the NYCHA and making sure that we're protected.
Thank you very much. Candidates, just remember, let's try to keep it to a minute and a half if we can. Okay, thank you very much. Go ahead, Ms. Septimo.
Sure. So, thank you for that lesson on the trust. Tenants, thank you, Mr. Topping, for that question, and thank you for your leadership and your advocacy. Tenants, I know that you know, residents in NYCHA have been leading on this issue for years. Before the trust was even thought of, all of the different plans that NYCHA has come up with that have not worked to serve the NYCHA residents have been advocating, organizing, and pushing against. I have been there every step of the way, long before I was elected, to support this work. And in my official capacity, I've been able to support this work as well. In fact, in our first year, we allocated funding so that residents in NYCHA could organize themselves. And with that funding, just yesterday, those same residents went down to Washington, D.C., organized 2 busfuls of people, and had people flying in from Alabama, from all parts of the country, to take their power in their own hands, go to Washington, and demand the money that they deserve. And that is how you build community power. I don't have to speak for tenants because they're already speaking for themselves. My job is to amplify those efforts, to amplify those voices, and fight alongside them. And so because of that, I went down to DC yesterday to be there, right there with them in these fights. And I will continue to advocate in that way and continue to make sure that the access that I have to government resources is going to be directed to where it needs to go, and that is building power in our community. And ultimately, we know that Albany needs to do more by way of NYCHA. Mr. Topping, I've been with you and with other tenants here in that fight, and we will continue to fight. I know that it is a long road, but I know that with advocates like you, we'll get there.
Thank you very much. Sir, your name? I'll hold the microphone. And what is your question for the candidate?
My question is, do they plan to put a bus line on Alexander Avenue below 3rd Avenue and dismiss those parked cars over by the 40th precinct, which is really annoying and tedious?
Why are you concerned about that spot?
Listen,